My name's Chris Wedge. I'm the director of Ice Age. I've been making animation since I was about 12 years old. My whole reason for starting up an animation company with my friends was to do cool stuff. We didn't think about how we were going to make money at all, and actually we starved for 2 years. One way or another, got to the point where our company could make a feature movie. But from the beginning, we were thinking about short film ideas. I was, anyway. I knew we were working on this lighting technology that would make it really look natural and real. Ultimately, this film became Bunny. This was just a fun little project for me to reach back and kind of explore that world that I think I just have in dreams anymore. And it won an Academy Award. Ultimately, I think we got enough attention so that we got this feature film. Ice Age, the concept was kicking around at Fox Animation, which is a division of Fox, by one of the producers there, Laurie Forte. It was her idea to set a movie in the Ice Age.
I actually developed the idea, Ice Age, with executives here at Fox, and I oversaw the scripting of it, and we developed the characters and the story, and ultimately we decided to do it as a CG animated feature, and we brought Chris Wedge into it and Blue Sky into it, and it just everything turned out, everything just worked well.
So 2 or 3 things drew me to the project in the first place. One was that I thought the story had good, simple, structural bones. Characters were very well defined. They're 3 kind of disparate outcasts.
You're hanging out with us now, buddy. Dignity's got nothing to do with it.
The setting, the Ice Age, was an interesting one because no one had been there, really, on a movie screen.
Prepare for the Ice Age!
There was the setting, the story. The third thing was that the studio was interested in doing it, so we took the opportunity.
Yeah, mush!
I've never directed a live-action movie before, but I can imagine what a lot of the differences are. When you watch an animated film, there isn't a single thing on the screen that you see that wasn't created by somebody. Every detail in the world, the faces and expressions of the characters, what they're wearing, what they look like, the clouds, the trees, everything's created by hand. Nothing comes for free. Part of the trick is surrounding yourself with really talented people. It's a huge collaborative effort. You've got good heft in his shoulders. At the very beginning, I wanted, at least for the look of the world, to be as authentic as I could. So we did a lot of research early on. We took trips to the Museum of Natural History. At the end of the day, decided, the Ice Age looked pretty much like the world looks today. I mean, without the houses and highways, but I mean, there has been 20,000 years of evolution since then, so the animals look different. But humans were pretty much like you and me without the Walkmans. What we ended up doing was stylizing quite a bit. We took what we had learned in our research and we just kind of styled it up to suit our story. In our exploration of what animals could exist back there, we had just reams and reams of drawings by Peter de Sèvres, who designed all the characters.
Well, right here, I'm exploring the saber-toothed tigers in general. The advantage is we don't know for certain exactly how the extinct saber-tooths looked. So we have the latitude to completely change the pattern on them and the color on them, and in that way we can get something a little more alien, a little more unusual.
Ooh, I can't wait to get my claws in that mammoth!
I'm trying to push it as far out there as possible. Obviously we want it to be unique.
Isn't there anyone who cares about Sid the Sloth?
His design is the most alien. I don't think anyone would really look at that and say, oh, that's a nice sloth. There are elements to him that are sloth-like, the eyes all the way out here. But we've kind of combined a tree sloth and the extinct sloth that was like a bear, very big in the Ice Age. We kind of combine the two and come up with this thing.
You two are a bit of an odd couple.
There is no us.
There's Manny. He's been the toughest. He's been hard to distill.
I don't like animals that kill for pleasure.
All my original drawings had him frowning and glowering and looking very menacing, but like most of the characters, he needs to be able to get softer and more appealing. So I have to, when I'm developing the character, I have to have both extremes in mind. For the secondary characters, we're using the weirdest animals we can find.
You can play Extinction later.
Okay.
As soon as we find something grotesque or really, really strange, we're very excited because we think, oh, of course, that would be great.
We are the weirdest herd I've ever seen.
The evolution of Sid. Early Sid, early Sid.
Early.
Actually, it's much closer to giant ground sloth. These things were like 14 feet tall. I don't think he would have gotten too many laughs. Here's my definite favorite Sid of all time. I'm Sid! So this is Sid at the end of the movie? He's made something of himself?
Going into the big city.
He's going to the
Start pounding the pavement.
What happens is I'll do the sketches. From there, hand it off to the modelers, and they will, as closely as possible, translate the sketches into a three-dimensional model.
We get those drawings, and we have modeling rounds. The director will come around and we'll show them where we're at a certain point.
This is the final soda, based on Pete DeCep's drawings. I think he looks really good. He's very handsome.
As he looks at it in 3D, we'll see things that we didn't see in the drawings.
The face should ultimately have more heft. I think he should get wider in here. His eyes should get narrower. His eyes look a little too friendly.
They have to make certain choices about editing and cleaning up the shapes. They need to simplify it as much as possible.
We can make quick changes in clay much better than the computer, so we do everything in clay.
So that's the advantage to clay. You want to get as much down in the clay as possible, but then you can finish it up in the computer.
Okay.
At the point when it's approved, we put lines on it and use this tool to get those lines into the computer. Alex is digitizing the sculpture. So he clicks along the surface at each intersection, which gives a curve, and then all those curves can then turn into a surface in the computer. Once that's in the computer, then you can scale the eyes out or do more changes.
Because they've already scanned in the model of Diego. From there, they're hoping to be able to extrapolate on that, stretch and pull and inflate and whatever, and get as many different characters out of that structure as possible.
You have a script, and the script gives you one page explaining, oh, this is an action sequence, that this would happen, that would happen. It's supposed to be set on inside this kind of environment. So it gives like specifics about what is it that makes the sequence, but it doesn't give you every beat or every moment of it. After we're done with the sequence and story, you have a storyboard. You have like a 2D art that represents how the scene would look.
Storyboards are developed by the story artists, and they pin up their boards, and usually we'll look at those together with the director and the editor, and that really becomes kind of the template for what becomes the film.
Prepare for the Ice Age! And Sid asks,
Ice Age?
I've heard of these crackpots.
this dodo that stole the melon runs in, plants it down, sees those guys behind him.
Intruder! 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 Ah!
Burn and die.
Taekwondodos! Attack!
Attack the melon!
Dodos flying through the air, and there's dodo carnage everywhere. And he knows what he has to do, and he swallows hard. Oh, okay! And he starts running. No. The dodos are coming after him. And cut back to Sid, who's like, dodos are raining down on him. And it goes right over his head. Finally he stops and he throws the melon up in the air because he made it.
Yeah. Touchdown.
Ah, Sid!
In a quick explanation, we get a character that has controls built into it. We don't actually take a raw model and start moving it around and animating it. There's a whole department that just does, they're all phenomenal artists, and they actually put controls in the characters to allow us to move things around.
Here in the rigging department, we set up the controls for the animators. This includes not only the body controls, but the facial controls as well. The controls themselves number perhaps on the magnitude of about 1,000 different animatable attributes per character. Many of those attributes involved are as simple as jaw open, right outer brow raiser.
Lifting the heel off, rolling off on the toes, rolling around the foot. We can rotate all the toenails themselves.
Each animator is assigned one shot, 1 or 2 or 3 shots. And they would have a little paper that would say, like, this is your shot, this is what comes before, this is what comes after. It gives you the outline of everything that's happening in that shot.
It's basically an empty set, and you're kind of free to start the performance.
From the beginning, we knew that we were going to have to depend on these characters to give us a lot of the comedy. Their acting style had to be appealing enough to help keep the film light in the moments that were required.
Oh no.
Once the characters were defined, the actors were defined, we started to study them more in order to come up with the way we're going to get the characters to move. In a way, we're all, like, in a way, actors, that we can make things move right. Visually, you should be able to watch the animation and relate to it, have fun with it.
The first thing that we did was create this opening sequence. I felt as though you sit down in the movie theater and you want to see Ice Age. I thought we should throw that right up there.
Well, the Scrat, right?
The Scrat, yeah, that was a real breakthrough, I think, because it was so tight in terms of storyboarding to layout to us. Bill Frake.
His boards were great.
His boards were amazing.
And we were a little bit scared that we were not going to do them justice. We always say, snappy timing. It's almost like a Warner Brothers, like, very quick sense of motion and quickness in the characters.
Yeah, because I mean that was really snappy.
The more we pushed it,
yeah.
I mean, the funnier it was.
And then that carried into kind of like an energy for the rest of the movie.
We had a couple of performance-like constraints. And one was that Manfred, just by nature of the type of animal he was, is kind of like a furry haystack with two eyes. He can't use his hands to gesture. He can't see his mouth.
You have beautiful eyes.
Basically, we had to depend on his eyes for all the acting in the movie. And he has some of the most powerful moments, I think, and they're all communicated through his eyes. We had a lot of conversation about what those eye shapes should be and how we should use them.
Yeah, oh yeah. The best references are our own faces.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where thumbnailing comes in handy. You can just draw out different little facial, cartoon Manny heads and draw out different expressions.
This is an exploration of different expressions and attitudes on Manny. The trick is to somehow transfer that into the computer, but at least you're getting, it's like a shorthand, you get your thoughts down. You get fast feedback with the pencil and paper. It's immediate, it comes straight from your heart.
Where's the baby? There he is!
Cats are very tricky because they're very flexible, they're very sharp. So we really had to study them very hard in order to get like a good reference.
He was probably the most difficult to get physically right.
Yeah.
That pink thing is mine.
Plus, they've got these big sabers. Doing the mouth shapes around these big teeth, was, I know, a rigging challenge.
No one touches the mammoth until I get that baby.
I think the directors responded to the eye acting with Diego and the shiftiness. I mean, there were glances where he would, like, deliver a line and then glance away at the character.
Go get lost in a blizzard. It's your choice.
It was just little beats like that came out, and we saw that was the direction to go in with Diego.
Hey, Uber Tracker! Up front where I can see you.
Help me.
And for Sid the Sloth, pretty much, I think we look at ourselves for reference because since he was like a biped kind of like character. Look at Leguizamo, the way he acts, just as some sort of like reference.
I mean, everyone wanted to work on Sid because he was just like the comic sidekick, and there's just so much potential with the character. And John Leguizamo, of course, had just all these great takes.
Fish.
And the biggest challenge, I think, throughout that process wasn't so much the animals, it was, I think, maybe more the humans.
Humans were a big challenge.
They were a challenge.
They were the most difficult because when something isn't moving correctly. I mean, Sid, we could get away with a lot of stuff because, like you said, he's, kind of Chuck Jonesy or Warner Brothers-y. But the humans, people know human movement.
We use a digital camera to shoot ourselves, like moving around, running, throwing spears, or like reacting with each other and just trying to come up with a way that we moved.
The process is as malleable as you can make it. When you can take a stab at a sequence, and if you don't like it, you can recut it. You can look at the animation on one day, change it, and it's a little bit different the next. It's really quite luxurious in that respect.
And I thought, whoa, she's gonna go praying mantis on me, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, if you find a mate in life, you should be loyal.
Well, I think mating for life is stupid. I mean, there's plenty of Sid to go around,
The very first technical challenge for us on this movie was creating a computer-generated movie that happened completely in a natural environment. It's a very small story that happens in a very big place. So I didn't want the environment, on one hand, to upstage the story at all. I wanted it to support it. So we came up with a style which is kind of the 3D equivalent to what Chuck Jones was doing in the Roadrunner cartoons, you know? They're kind of sketches and outlines of the world, and the main focus is on our actors.
Slalom, baby!
We have focused our technology effort on creating worlds that look like they're lit very naturally. The challenges for us then were to create all the detail that you see when you walk outdoors in the Ice Age. There's a sequence in the movie that happens in the water, so we had to develop ways for our synthetic actors to interact with the water, way for the water to look, for splashes to happen. There's driving rain at one point, there's sleet, there's smoke, there's fire, there's snow for sure, there's blizzards, there's driving snow, there's characters running through the snow and splashing it up behind them. We've created technology that the technical directors can use as if they were photographers.
By the time that it's handed to us, all the animation is already completed. It's just in a very raw format, and so what we have to do is add in the lighting in order to get the proper mood and feel and kind of context of the shot so that it feels like it's really outside at noon, or it's early morning, or you're inside of a cave.
Basically, from the art department, we're given inspirational paintings. And through that and a discussion with the director, it's up to people like us to figure out what each sequence should look like specifically. Now it's time to figure out where does the key light go, what color is it, where does the fill light, what do the shadows look like. All these things have to be figured out.
As lighters at Blue Sky, we're really lucky because our renderer is so physically accurate that we can place lights and do things just like you would in the real world, and it pretty much comes out right.
The other part that we take care of is generating all these different kinds of effects. The effects team, they work on the general motion and geometry, and then these effects come to the lighting team, and it's up to us to integrate these effects into each of the shots in our sequences.
A lot of the most difficult things that computers are asked to do, we're doing in this movie.
Mush! Or not mush, either way.
You really start this project with an idea about what you want to do. And you have to have enough belief in that idea, because that's the one thing you're going to hold on to for the whole thing. It's like kind of having a child. You know, it starts out kind of blank, and then it starts to collect all sorts of input from the environment and a lot from you as a parent. It's like creating an organism that comes to life as you're working on it, and then like takes off when you're done.
Whoa! Woo! Yeah! Who's up for round 2?
I think the next movie is probably bigger. We're a little scared right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty ambitious.
And we hope we don't have to do quadrupeds, but who knows? With the success of Ice Age, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so where's the sloths? You never see any sloths in these things. Have you ever noticed? Oh, look, Manny, a mammoth. Hey, look at this big, fat, ugly one. Looks just like you. It looks... Oh, and he's got a family.
Opreklamere, der er bare en bror. Hvem gider det, mener? Er det ikke bare fedt? Dig og mig, to ungkæl, der trykker med i vildmark.
Vi har ham skal kraft, vi har ham skal kraft.
Du har så wunderschöne Augen.
食個 BB 唔係，我係想送佢返去啫。你話我講大話，你係有咁諗嘅。
おい、そいつを泣き止ませろ。もう我慢の限界だ。俺だってこんなうるさいやつは初めてだ。
泣き止まねえよ。なんだかあだこうだちまちまちまちまもう。
下に寝かせるんだ。
なんで俺がうんち見んの？
この子拾ったのはお前だし、チビでアホなのもお前。言うこと聞かなきゃ俺が殴るから。
でも。